Thank you, sir. How's everybody? Excellent, excellent. So, well, first of all, y'all have already messed me up because you got food over here. So I will lose focus real quick as soon as I see food. So don't eat anything at the table, especially, desserts and cookies and stuff. So let me start out where I start every presentation I do, and that is to thank you for letting me serve as your sheriff. I absolutely love this job. It is the funnest thing I've ever got to do in my life, and what makes it the best is I'm surrounded by 1,400 incredible men and women of our agency that are knocking it out of the park for you every day to keep you safe. So you see one of our deputies out, you see one of our corrections teams members, one of our communications officers, one of the people that run our computers. Tell them how much you appreciate what they're doing for you, because they are doing a tremendous job. Two of them are with me tonight, and thank you. Ray is our videographer, and he goes around, and we have a new system that's up. It's called BrevardSheriffTV.com. So we put all of our informative type presentations up on archive where people can pull them up and start watching them. And if you're a business owner and you're having a power lunch, you can go and pull that up and play it for your employees or for your family or anything. The second one that's with me is standing in the back, and that is Miss Lindsay Deaton. She is our community relations coordinator, and she is also kind of known as the sheriff's handler, and so she will tell me when I'm out of time to talk. Usually she tries to move into my view, and I try and avoid seeing her because I want to make a few more points before we do it. But I'm very proud of both of them. They do a great job for us. So thank you. All right, what I'm going to talk to you about tonight is we're going to focus in on human trafficking. And let me start with this question. How many of you think we have human trafficking problems in Brevard County? How many of you believe that? All right. I can tell you that I'll go back probably about 10 years ago, and a young lady from the Palm Bay Police Department, every time she was at an intel meeting, would talk about human trafficking. And literally, most of us, myself included, that were there would go, oh, here we go again. All right, human trafficking. We've made no cases of human trafficking in Brevard County. All these things 10 years ago. But let me tell you something. She was ahead of her time because she knew what she was talking about. Because what we were talking about is we hadn't made cases, therefore it didn't exist. What she was talking about is we're not making cases because we're not looking in the right places. We're not focusing in on where we should be focused in on. And every time I see her now, I remind her about being right. And she was. And all of us were wrong. But you know what? Today, we don't have the opportunity to turn a blind eye to it because it's staring us right in the face. It is looking at us, and it is looking at us across the globe is where it is staring at us in the face. So tonight I'm going to share a little bit with you about what we know about human trafficking, why it occurs, and what we as a community can do to stop it, what we as a community can do to engage and help stop this unbelievable crime that's taking place. So as we go through, if you have a question, feel free to ask. We're always, I like the informal setting where you ask your question because we'll all gain from your question and the knowledge that this group has to represent. I will tell you this, I'm a big believer in it takes a community to protect a community. We have 1,400 members of our agency. We have 600,000 citizens at times. We need you. We need you to be our eyes and ears. We need you to take from what you learned tonight and start calling us when you see things that stand out, when you see things that could be going wrong. We don't care. If you're wrong, we'll dance a jig because nobody's going to get hurt if you're wrong. If you're right, we get a chance to save somebody and help somebody in our community. So take that and make that call to us. All right. And we'll talk about how to contact us as we go through. I want to touch on this before we start. Rankings for the country, crime in Florida, all right? And let's look at some of these. Violent crime, we're 8th in the nation. That's pretty good. We're not number 1, all right? Whoo, man, we're doing some great things, aren't we? All right? And then we get to identity theft. We are number 1 in the nation, in the state of Florida. Brevard County ranks 26th in the nation for the most incidents of identity theft and credit card fraud. 26th in the nation when compared to populations of 100,000 or more. So Los Angeles, San Francisco, Boston, Jacksonville, Miami, everywhere else, and we rank number 26 in the nation. Think about that for a minute. One of the things we know drives that element for us is our volume of seniors, but we still rank that high, all right? So we start looking at where we rank at. Child abductions, we rank 3rd in the nation. That's pretty good when you consider that a child abduction doesn't occur that often, which we are all blessed that it doesn't. But when we look at the volume of them, you look at some of them that have gone on in the state of Florida, all right? And you start looking at Jessica Lunsford, Jimmy Rice, all of those. State of Florida has the ones that are always at the top of the national news. And then you look at pill mills, first in the nation. I saw a statistic today that our Attorney General Pam Bondi put out where 2 years ago, the top prescribing doctors of oxycodone, the top 100 were in the state of Florida. Today, we have not one in the state of Florida, all right, in the top 100. So we're doing a good job. We're being active in it. And then we look at human trafficking. We rank third in the nation behind California and Texas. And we'll talk about why as we go through. Now let's talk about our local crime rate. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement just put out a thing last week that said the crime rate in Florida is lower than it has been in 43 years. We saw a 4.3% reduction in the state of Florida and the lowest crime rate in 43 years. Closer to home, we actually in Brevard County, and it is a direct ability and a direct response from all of our agencies, not just the Sheriff's Office, but the Melbourne Police Department, Titusville, Cocoa Beach, Palm Bay, all of us working together and playing in the sandbox together. We actually saw a 7.4% reduction in crime. But what I'm more excited about than anything else is that last year in 2013, we had fewer reported crimes than any time since 2001. That's what I look at. I look at how many people are becoming victims, because that's what's important to us, is how many people can we keep from becoming a victim. All right, I want to do a little exercise here. I want you to close your eyes. I want you to put your head down, and I want you to visualize with me for a moment. I want you to imagine that you're out of your element. You're out of town on vacation, or you're someplace that you've never been before. And all of a sudden, you find yourself being abducted. All of a sudden, you found yourself thrown into a van. You find yourself being drug out of that van, taken into a home. Complete darkness. You have no idea where you are. You have no ability to summon help. You are beaten. You are starved. And as things would go, you are alone. And then I want you to imagine that reoccurring day after day. The hunger. I want you to imagine that you are now totally dependent upon your captors to feed you and to take care of you, to heal the wounds that they inflicted upon you as they were abducting you and basically taking you under their control. And now I want you to imagine that now they decide what they're going to do with your life. You have no way of calling for help. Your family doesn't know where you are. And even if they did, they wouldn't be able to get to you. When you start to figure out where you are, you're moved to another location, to another city, and you're put to work in some of the most horrific ideals that you've ever thought of. Maybe you're put to work in sex slave industry. Maybe you're put to work in agriculture. And every day, the same routine occurs over and over again. Now I want you to imagine that you're 16 years old and that is your life from that day forward. Because if you can dig deep enough to imagine that, compound it 5,000 times, and you'll understand the life of someone who is a victim of human trafficking. Because that's what they live with. That's what their life is every day. They become totally dependent upon their captors. So as you open your eyes and we walk through this, keep that theory in mind. Keep that concept in mind. Human trafficking is modern day slavery. Is it new? Is it new to us? Is it new to society? How far back could we go and find forms of human trafficking? Give me an example, somebody. How about if I took you back to the days of the gladiators? Was that human trafficking? Certainly was, but we don't look at it as that, do we? All right? When you consider that, that's human trafficking. How about if we go to a little bit more modern day slavery, if we will, with people being brought over from another country, being put into slave labor here in our own country, and then the civil rights movement that would follow from that. Well, that's human trafficking. And we can paint it any color we want, we can paint it any picture we want, but at the end of the day, that's human trafficking. The only difference is today, it's happening right around us, and we're not collectively fighting it. We're putting our blinders on and saying, this doesn't happen in my area. This isn't happening in Brevard County. I can assure you it is. The two most common types of human trafficking are forced commercial sex and forced labor. So let's examine those. Forced commercial sex. It'll work in Brevard County. It'll be profitable in Brevard County. It would be profitable in Dade County, in Duval County, and in Fargo, North Dakota. It will be profitable any place you take it, to any country you take it, because that's how it's fixed. That's how it works. In fact, human trafficking has become the third most profitable criminal act in the world. Think about that for a minute. But we say it doesn't exist. We say, we don't have that here. So I know I can take the forced commercial sex. How about forced labor? The most dynamic and number one way that they would put somebody into play in a forced labor episode is simply this: the agriculture industry. Do we have that here in our area? Certainly we do. In fact, we're very proud of the agriculture industry. It's one of the things that helps our economy and helps our community as much as it does. So we'd have to consider, well, we got two of them covered. But if I can't put you to work out in the field, then I'm going to put you to work in the hospitality industry. Do we have that here? Sure we do. You can go out to the port. You can go to the hotels. You can go to Disney and all the other things that are around us. And we're right in the middle of the hospitality industry. And if I'm not going to do that, then I would put you to work in probably a nail salon or something like that, or a massage parlor. Do we have those here? All across the area. So if we consider how I'm going to make my money off of somebody I've abducted and put into that scenario, all of the elements are right here in play in Brevard County. So we have to consider that we have it. Victims rarely report to law enforcement, making a predominantly hidden crime. Why don't they report it? What keeps them from reporting it? Fear? Absolutely. In most cases, what keeps them from reporting it is embarrassment. They are completely embarrassed about the acts they've been forced to do. And it's better to live in that environment for them than to have to face that. Imagine that. When you close your eyes tonight, think about that for a minute. What type of things could you be forced to do that would be that bad? Most victims are so ashamed of their actions or fearful of law enforcement immigrations that they never repeat their that they never report their victimization. You notice the word immigration's in there, because what we see is a lot of them are being brought over here, illegal aliens. A lot of times we actually see where they'll bring them into the country with promise to bring the rest of their family into the country. And then when they get here, they say, we had to do some different things. We couldn't get you in as much as we thought, so you owe us $5,000 more. You're going to work off your debt, or we're not bringing your family over. So now you're in that forced labor scenario, and now you're working off that debt. But guess what? To work off that debt, you have to pay to live where they put you at. They charge you for your food. They charge you such enormous prices that you never get to work off that debt. And if you threaten to tell, then they threaten to kill the other family members that they didn't bring over here, to have the members of their organization do it. So it's a continual battle, it's a continual struggle. Let's talk about the difference between trafficking and smuggling, all right? Smuggling is voluntary, where a person pays another to help them enter a country illegally. This can turn into trafficking through forced pay scams, just like we talked about, but smuggling is voluntary. So I'm in another country, I want to come here, I pay you to bring me here. That's smuggling. That's the clear definition of it. Smuggling is a crime against the government. Trafficking is involuntary. The victim is forced or tricked into bondage. The trafficker holds the victim's documents, threatens them or their families, and physical and mental harm. All right? Trafficking is a crime against a person. So essentially, just like a battery is a crime against a person, trafficking is a crime against a person. And we see this all too often. How many cases of human trafficking do you think have to exist to make it the third most profitable crime in the world? Behind drugs and guns dealing, illegal arms. Think about how many cases there have to be out there to make it that bad. All right, human trafficking can happen to anyone. U.S. citizens such as homeless people, we're actually seeing them where they go in, they promise to give them a better life. Once they get them in their arms and their grasp, now they're taken and turning them into a forced labor scenario. Some start as illegal immigrants. Once they are held against their will, they become victims of human trafficking. 80% of our victims are women. Why is that? Because it gives them a much broader dynamic of what they can do with them. Forced commercial sex, working in the hospitality industry, all of that. It's also because they target the ladies as their victims because they think they can grasp them easier. They can get them into control easier. So 80%, over 50% are children. Even labor trafficking, once dominated by the males, is now dominated by women worldwide, and many female victims are performing sexual acts for money. I will tell you that the state of Florida not only has to deal with it here, but we are a launching pad for those that go to other countries to have illegal sex with children. Our cybercrimes unit works these cases all the time. In fact, some of you may remember reading in the paper probably about 8 or 9 months ago where one of our agents, Agent Mike Spatafor, who was actually our Deputy of the Year this year, Mike Spatafor worked a case with a man from England who thought he was talking to the father of a 9-year-old girl who was going to let him come over here and impregnate her, and then once she delivered the baby, take the baby back to England to put the baby into forced sex slave. The guy actually got on a plane, flew to Sanford. Agent Spatafor picked him up in Sanford, and as they drove into Brevard County, we pulled over on the side of the road and arrested him for all of the crimes that fit into it. When they went back and got his computer, in fact, on the way from Sanford to Brevard County, he told him that he had done this 2 other times and told him details about the children. And so you have to wonder, was he boasting? No, he was not. Our agents were able to, off of his computer and other documentation, working with the authorities in London, actually prove that he had done this in 2 other countries. That's what's going on in this world. That's what we're facing. And that guy was coming to Brevard County. So, yeah, I think we have to consider that we have some sick things happen. It's estimated that 32% of all American females involved in the sex trade in the United Nations or in the United States are minors. Remember I told you close your eyes and think about being 16? I can be honest with you, I can't think back that far to be 16, all right? I can get to about 30 as far back as I can go. Americans prey on Americans, Mexicans on Mexicans, and so forth, but traffickers take advantage of everyone. They are constantly out. Their radars are up. They're looking for that next victim. It doesn't have to be a group of them they grab. In fact, most of the time it's a single person that they grab and actually move into the group. They're actually getting that person, getting them under control, getting them locked in, and then putting them in play in the group with the rest of them. And each of them knows that's their life now. That's what they're facing. That's what they're dealing with. Traffickers see victims as commodities, easy to recruit, cheap to maintain, and readily replaceable. What do you think happens to that victim when they're no longer of value to the human trafficker? What do you think? Think they set them free and say, hey, promise not to tell on us? No, they're going to kill them. It's absolutely right. There are 20 million slaves in the world today. Some experts will actually tell you it's closer to 30 million. An estimated 600,000 to 800,000 people are trafficked across the international borders yearly. Think about that for a minute. So that means if you look at all the countries, they're trafficking them back and forth. They're taking them from Canada to the United States, from Mexico to the United States, from the United States to England, on and on and on. Almost 800,000 people. But yet, we question if it even goes on here. How many of you, when I asked you at the very beginning, when I said how many of you think we have it here, how many of you had to really mull it over in your mind before you raised your hand? All right? She said she thought it was way over in Orlando. It is, but it's here too. And we have to become cognizant of it. Estimates that are approximately 17,000 new victims each year, and it generates globally approximately $32 billion annually. $32 billion off of this crime. And all of these are estimates. And there's no true way to attach a number to that except for looking at the cases that are made in the organizations that are dismantled. So imagine how many organizations are out there that we don't even know about that are doing this that would boost that number up even higher. All right, 14,453 trafficking cases were identified in the United States in 2013. Who are the traffickers? Stranger traffickers account for 54%. Known traffickers account for 46%. So what's the difference? A stranger is someone that sees this young lady at the mall, grabs her, gets her out of there, abducts her. The known is somebody that actually knows the family, knows the person, or knows the person that gave them to them, which is in most cases the kid, the child, that the family sells or the family gives away because they don't want to do it anymore. But they just did a case in Palm Bay about, I'm going to say 3 or 4 months ago, where they had kids that were going to a door, knocking on the door, selling stuff. And when the citizen called in, the Palm Bay Police Department did a great job at investigating it. They went out and they took off a human trafficking ring out of Winter Park that were out there selling it. You get that knock on your door, you get that person or that child that's there knocking, you call us. You let us come investigate it. Maybe they're with the group, but we'll determine that. We'll come out and look at it. Don't shut the door and say, man, I hate when they solicit, because you don't know. You get those people that are selling meat at your door, everything else. You don't know what those people have been through to be up there doing that. You get the Girl Scouts at your door selling Girl Scout cookies, you call me straight. I'll come deal with that. All right? I'm an expert in Girl Scout cookies. I can handle it. So don't bother calling any other agency. Just call me straight, and I'll come deal with it. All right. Victims found in agriculture fields, homes working as nannies and maids, restaurants, hotels, resorts, sweatshops and factories, construction sites, nail spas and salons, pornographic studios. How many of you ladies go get your nails done? All right? You don't know that the person that's doing your nails could be the person that's a victim of this crime. Sometimes you think, well, they don't speak to me because they don't speak English or they don't speak the language I speak. Maybe they're forbidden to speak to you. Maybe they can't even make eye contact with you because the person standing by the door is eyeballing them and will punish them later if they're out of line. You have to be thinking about all of the signs, and we're going to talk about that as we go. All right? Construction sites, nail spas, and then pornographic studios. Child exploitation draws men from wealthy countries to less developed countries. They take advantage of women and children not protected by strong laws. If you go over to some of the other foreign countries, it's not illegal over there to have sex with an 11-year-old child. So what happens here? The people in our world, in our area, that are sick and demented say, I'm going to get on a plane and I'm going to go over there. Fortunately, the United States has passed laws that if they go to another country and violate those laws of morality and ethics, when they come back here, they can be arrested. If they try to go to another country, in fact, in our cybercrimes unit, if we catch somebody that's trying to, they think we're from another country and they're talking to us and trying to set up to go over to another area and do that, we can arrest them right here in the state of Florida. We can actually charge them with that crime. U.S. citizens, as I was just saying, we can be prosecuted. Why don't they escape? They're not familiar with their surroundings. They've become reliant on their captors. When you consider that that person is the only person who's going to give you food, that person is the only person who's going to give you medical attention, and you are totally beholding to them because you have no clue where you are. How many of you got lost when you were a kid? How many of you got lost at the store? All right? How'd that feel? Pretty horrible, right? All right? How many of you had a child that got lost at the store? All right? Sick feeling in the pit of your stomach, right? How many of you actually looked for your kid in the store and not tried to run and get out of there? Anybody? I'm kidding. I'm joking. All right? I always tell everybody, I have a 14-year-old I'll give you right now if you want a kid. All right? All right. They become reliant on their captors. Often moved around frequently to escape. So essentially what happens, they set them up in an area, they put, let's say it's a female, they put her into a commercial sex industry, they've got her out on the street, she's being sold to have sex with whomever, and then after they think she has started to develop friendships, or she has started to understand her surroundings, or maybe even made friends with a cop, they are going to move her. They are going to take her to another state, they're going to take her to another area where that person cannot have that friendship or have that connection to maybe be able to tell somebody, I'm in trouble. I'm being held against my will. So they move them around so that they can avoid it. All right. They may never be let out of confinement. They're often too frightened in fear. No one helped them. And as I said, they're too ashamed of their actions to even report it. All right. How can you recognize a victim? First thing is the evidence of being controlled. We'll use the nail salon, for example. When you see that person that's here and they won't talk to you, you got to consider, maybe they just don't speak the language that I speak. But when you see that person that can't look at you, or when they do look at you as getting that evil eye from somebody, or someone that is trying to signal to you that something's wrong, you have to take note of it. You have to make sure that you're looking. We actually are now teaching our real estate people throughout our county because they go in different houses all the time. They're constantly moving around, putting houses on the market and everything. Some of the ideas, some of the things we want them to look for so that they can be our eyes and ears. But if nobody's looking, nobody's going to know. All right? Look at the list. The evidence or inability to move, poor working conditions. We look at some of the sweatshops that are out there, some of the conditions. It clues us in. We have to look at it. Over-dependent or fearful of boss, fear or depression, recently entered U.S. from Eastern Europe, Asia, Latin America. All right, attempted warning signs, or they do not speak for themselves. That's that person that you go to ask them a question, and the person 2 people over comes over and answers that question. And they give you an excuse as to why they're answering it. You have to be thinking all the time about this type of crime. Now, let's take it to the next level. What do you do? What do you do when you see this stuff? You know, we find out so many times that people don't report something that makes that hair stand up on the back of your neck. I'm a big believer that God gave everybody the gift of fear, but we ignore it. We walk right into trouble, or we ignore it. In fact, when you look at the tragedy that happened on 9/11, when they went back and they started looking at the neighbors and the people that were involved in interacting with the terrorists, a huge number of them said, I knew something was wrong. I saw this happen, but I didn't report it because I didn't want to think, you know, that they were bad people. Or I didn't report it because I didn't think it was important to you. It's important to us. Everything that goes on in our community is important. We're not going to be mad at you if you report something and you're wrong. That's not what we are. In fact, we are pushing out crime prevention in volumes like you've never seen before. We have become, in fact, we have the first ever in the country crime prevention task force that was ever created. What we do in law enforcement, and what we've historically done, is we create task force to solve crime. We create a homicide task force, or we create a narcotics task force, or we create an economic crimes task force, or a human trafficking task force. We create all of those. But not once did anybody, apparently, and I'm shocked by this, but not once did anybody ever say, we're going to create a crime prevention task force to try and keep people from becoming a victim. When we started putting ours together, I asked Lindsay, I said, go out and look for other agencies that have partnered together, where a bunch of agencies have come together with a crime prevention tool or a crime prevention task force, and then we'll cookie cutter theirs, all right? The best compliment you can give somebody is to take their idea. So we were looking for a good working version, best practice scenario. She come back and said, there are no other programs like that in the nation. There were neighborhoods that had partnered together. There were homeowners associations that had partnered with law enforcement, but never before had law enforcement partnered together to actually try and stop a crime from happening. So we did. We started the Brevard County Crime Prevention Task Force. Our goal is to deliver crime prevention information to you, like we're doing tonight about the topic of human trafficking, from MIMS to MICO in the same exact format. I don't care if the person that gives you crime prevention information is wearing a blue uniform or a green uniform. All I care about is they're giving you information that you can help protect you and your family. So that's what we started doing. In fact, some of our presentations we go to, you can be up in Titusville and there'll be a Palm Bay police officer standing there with us at the crime prevention thing, or vice versa. We have a great team now. But here was our trouble. Here was our bar that we had to pass. How do we reach you? How do we get to you with crime prevention? How is that? How do you let us? How many of you have email? Who has email? Let me reverse that. Who doesn't have email? All right? Because you're the luckiest person in the world if you don't have email. I just want you to know that. So every one of you has email. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to go to our website, brevardsheriff.com, and sign up for community alerts. You go in and you create your own profile. So if you want us to tell you when we have a bank robbery and give you instant stuff, we're going to send it to your email address. If you want us to tell you about fugitives that we're looking for, we're going to send it to your email. Yes. Same thing. Yep. And I'll kind of tie it in with Facebook. But if we're going to send you what you want, all right. The only difference is on Facebook, you get whatever we put up. But on community alerts, you create your own profile. So if you want to know about sex offenders, but you don't want to know about instant stuff going on, then you set it up your profile, and that's how we send it to you. So go sign up for that. You can get it at your desktop. You can get it on your email. Anywhere you get your email, it'll come straight to you. The second thing we did is Facebook. We have 2 Facebook pages, Brevard County Sheriff Official and Sheriff Wayne Ivey. The same information goes out. The only difference is on the Sheriff Wayne Ivey page. I use that page to sometimes brag on our team members, some of the things that they do. You know what? We have an amazing team, and when they do something that's even outside the job, they get their master's degree or something like that, I'm bragging on them because I'm proud of them. I think they do a tremendous job. On the other page, we're putting up all sorts of stuff that's going on in our agency. We do a weekly crime prevention tip. How many people can we reach on Facebook? I will tell you that at times we reach as many as 250,000 people a week off of Facebook, off of our Facebook pages. Do you know how many people we reach by coming in and doing in-person presentations like I'm doing tonight? Last quarter, our crime prevention unit did 88 presentations and throughout the quarter. And that's pretty solid because there's only 5 people in our unit, and that was their stats, 88. So they did 88 presentations. We know that if we use that as a barometer, we will reach 4% of the population in the course of a year versus we're reaching 250,000 people a week on Facebook. So I want you to go, if you have Facebook, how many of you have Facebook? Go sign up go like our page. We'll start sending it out to you. We have a bank robbery, we put it up. We're looking for this vehicle. If you know it, tell us. You can send it to us as a personal message or as a post. We get information all the time on Facebook. We constantly, if we're looking for a missing person, we'll get the personal messages that come out. And then we go. We just recovered a little girl about 3 months ago that was with a guy that was 21 years old. I think she was 14. We've been looking for her. We put it up on Facebook. Within 2 hours, somebody told us where the vehicle was parked at, and we went and recovered her, all because of Facebook. So go sign up for one of those 2 pages. The second thing, or the third thing that we did, is we said, all right, how else can we reach them? So we decided to reach you through BrevardSheriffTV.com. It is a live stream TV that you can get on your desktop. You can get it on your TV if it has internet connectivity. You can get it on your smartphone. You can get it on YouTube. You can get it on Facebook. Even connects to Xbox and PlayStation because some of the programming we're pushing out will go to that. That's what Ray is videoing tonight. So we can put this program out and let people know about human trafficking. But you can reach it at any time of the day. Even though we live stream it when we're doing something, we also have it archived. So you can go back and pull it up and say, hey, you got to see this presentation. Look at these stats, man. This is crazy. I never saw this before. Or you can do that power lunch. You can do any of that. We are doing some creative programming on there as well because I want to get that crime prevention out to you. I want to tell you about the crimes going on. So what you'll also see is we're doing some neat programs. We have a program out that's called Fugitive Hunt. We tell you about the top 6 fugitives that we're looking for that week and then ask you to tell us where they are. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Fugitive Hunt was not my idea. I had another idea. I wanted Wheel of Fugitive. I wanted a big giant wheel where I could spin that wheel and whatever fugitive it landed on, that's who we were going to look for. But the team shot me down. They thought that was a bad idea. I don't understand that. I thought it was a good idea, to be honest with you. We have Crime Prevention Jeopardy that we're about to start producing. We're going to take people from our community. We would pick somebody out of this group, maybe Colonel McKnight. I don't know. He probably wouldn't get any of the answers right. But sorry, Colonel. So we would take the Colonel, give him a study packet, and then he would come and be one of 3 participants on Crime Prevention Jeopardy. So instead of understanding, the question about what is the mathematical equation for such, it would be, I'll take credit card fraud for $250. And then when it pops up, it's what is the device used that skims credit cards or whatever. We're trying to educate our public, trying to push it out there and give them more information so they understand it. We got another show we're bringing out called Cop Shot, where we're actually going to do gun safety through a program. If you've watched Top Shot on TV, you know the game or the show where it's a reality show. We're going to do Cop Shot. It'll be 8 citizens with 8 deputies, and they'll be intermixed, and they'll compete against each other in shooting. We'll use it to do safety and awareness off of it, pushing that information out. We're putting out all of our crime prevention stuff and everything else on Brevard Sheriff TV so that you can watch it at any given time. We have a show called On the Go with BCSO that actually tells you what we did that week. Maria Fernandez is our PIO. She's the host of the show, and she tells you what went on with our agency, all of those things that we put out. So we got to reach you. We got to give you that information and then ask you to give it back to us. That's what we need to do. So we're giving you not only the information, but we're giving you an outlet to get back to us, a reach to get to us. We're also in the next, probably I'm going to say 2 months, we will have a new app that's coming out for your smartphones. We had one, we toyed with it, we didn't like it real well. It was wasn't user friendly. So we now have one that's going to be called the Brevard County Sheriff's Office app. You will be able to get instant information. So, for example, we just had somebody that stole a car. We'll tell you what car we're looking for. You see it. You can send us a text message, not while you're driving, of course, but you can send us a text message and tell us, hey, that vehicle's parked at such and such, or you can give us information. You can do it anonymously, or you can send it where your number shows up so we can call back and get information. It's about reaching you. That's what it's about. It's about being able to get to you. So we got all this crime prevention stuff. Now, how do we tie that in with human trafficking? How do you help us with that? It comes down to this. You have to be observant. You have to start educating yourself on this crime so you know what to look for. You have to start understanding the dynamics of it, what type of world they put these people in, what the demonstration signs of it are. What, we talked about nail salons and everything else, but you can go on and on. You can talk about what it looks like inside the house. If you're a realtor or you're somebody that goes in and does house cleaning and stuff like that, generally they're very restrictive who they let in. But when you get to that point and you see it, you got to call us. You got to let us know so that we can take action and possibly save that person's life, put them back in the environment they should be in. You start getting people that are reaching out for you on your computer and stuff like that, doing the things that we see in that cybercrime world. Let us know about it. Tell us what's going on. And it goes deeper than just human trafficking. How many of you Google search stuff? How many of you actually go on? And there's so many search engines out there, but how many Google? What do we Google search? What do we go on? I can't remember who the cast was in that movie. So what do? We Google search it. All right. I can't remember how to make a cheese omelet with toast on the side. We Google search it. We look for it. We go on and Google search and self-diagnose ourselves with all sorts of illnesses. All right. We literally, we don't need the doctor anymore because we've got this checklist that we get off of Google. I've got it. I knew I had it. Nothing I can do now except go ahead and wait for the worst, all right? That's what we do. But we don't ever Google search about crime. We don't ever Google search about the crime trends that are going on. How many of you have ever heard of sliders, the crime sliders? Anybody know what that is? Ladies, it targets you, all right? You probably saw it on our Facebook page, all right? It targets you. You're getting gas. They pull up beside you. You're pumping gas and your purse is in the passenger seat. They low crawl to your car, open up your car door very quietly, pull your purse out of the seat, shut it, and they low crawl back to their car and drive off with all your belongings. But if you start Google searching stuff, then you start understanding. If you know how criminals work, or you know the elements of human trafficking, or you know the elements of burglary and those things, now you know how to protect yourself. So when you're doing those search engines, start looking at crime. Make yourself 1 day a week or 2 days a week, Google search the latest trends or latest trends that are out there. You can actually go on to a website called 419 Eater. All right, 419 is the penal code in Nigeria for fraud. I don't know where the Eater comes from, but that's the name of the website, 419 Eater. You go to that website and it'll tell you every new fraud scam that's on the market today. And every time they get a new one, they post it. They put it up. If you're into technology, you can go to Krebs on Security, Krebs on Security, and they'll tell you all the computer crimes that are out there. But you got to go to it and look for it. You got to start familiarizing yourself with crime, because that's how we protect ourselves. If we want to buy a new TV, what do? We go and look and we search and say, well, which one's got the best reviews and which one's got this? We do all of these things to get the things we want, but we don't do anything to learn about the things we don't want. We have to start that. We have to get more engaged. I was doing a presentation not long ago, and a lady told me the best idea I've heard in a long time. She said that once a week, her and her family sit down in the living room. They take the laptop computer, they all get around it, and they play Guess That Crime. I was looking at her, I'm like, what is that? They take the mug shots, and they pop the picture up, and you have to guess what that person was arrested for. And then you get points for it. And I thought, that's kind of cool. I'm trying to figure out how to turn that into a TV show, to be honest with you, off Brevard show. But then they take it a step further. If they get it right, they go, okay, and then they look up what that crime is. And so they're educating their kids on what crime is. They're teaching them all the different things. You know what? It's outside the box. But that's familiarizing yourself with crime. We need you. We need you to help us. Law enforcement for years didn't do that. Law enforcement for years kept everything right here close to our vest. But today we're telling people, you're our eyes and ears. We need you to tell us when you see something. You can call 911 if it's an in-progress call, or you can text us, or you can send us an email, or you can post a personal message on Facebook. All of those tools are right there for you, but you got to do it. You got to give us a chance. Let me share this statistic with you. The best law enforcement agencies in the country have response times in minutes. In fact, most of the time our response time is 4 minutes. That's what it takes us, which is pretty dynamic in a county that's 70 plus miles long. But our response times are 4 minutes. Violent criminals are going to take your lives in seconds. So we have to have every advantage we can. You have to have every advantage you can. You got to be able to help protect yourself in case we're not standing there when it happens. So we're asking you to get engaged. We're asking you to become our eyes and ears and an extension of us as we go through it. All right? Let me open the floor for questions. You can ask me any question you want. That's a bad question. Ask the next question. No, I'm kidding. She said, if I see something, should I dial 911? What we generally ask our public to do is if it's something that's in progress, for example, you see a burglary that's happening, or you see a robbery that's happening, or maybe you see somebody driving down the road that is all over the road, perhaps intoxicated. Yes, call 911. If you see something that you think is maybe a drug checkpoint or a drug house, or you see something that is not an in progress, in other words, it's not happening right then you can call our normal number to connect to any one of our 5 precincts, or you can get us through the other mechanisms we talked about. But ideally, we want you to call 911. If you call 911 and our communications people, who are some of the best in the world, if our communications people determine it's not an in-progress call, we'll switch you to another line. We'll get you on the other line so that we can get your information and go for it. All right? What else? Yes, ma'am. The email or the website? My personal email is sheriff@bcso.us. But I think you're looking for the website, the Brevard Sheriff, brevardsheriff.com. And then, Miss Lindsay, there's a link off of it for community alerts, right? Okay.
One more thing. I teach Sunday school some very elderly, single females. Do you have handouts or something I can teach them?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, we actually do. Miss Lindsay will get you some of the stuff, and we'll actually come in too if you want, do a presentation on identity theft. We have a program that's called Personal Safety, or Safety Through Self-Defense and Mental Preparedness. It's a great program. It talks to you about how to protect yourself and your family and your home across the board. It's about a 45-minute presentation. It'd be great for a group like this. It really speaks to our females very well from it, but we're always glad to come do that. In fact, I try and do as many of those as I can for it. So, all right. What else? Yes, sir. We actually do. We have countywide jurisdiction, but what we prefer is for you to call the area, because it's going to give that quicker response to it. But you can call, if you're calling 911, for example, like on an in-progress call, especially if you're calling from a cell phone, it is going to connect you to the 911 dispatch center that's closest to the tower you're hitting off of. So you may actually, let's say you live in West Melbourne, but the tower that's closest to you is in Palm Bay or in Melbourne. You're going to get their dispatch center, but they're quickly going to connect you to it. As soon as you tell them your address, they're going to tell you where they're at. In fact, that's one of the things we ask. If you call 911 on a cell phone, the first thing we want you to tell us is where you are. Don't tell us that you're being robbed. Don't tell us anything else. Tell us where you are, and then we know where to send the cavalry. If you get disconnected from us right after you tell us where you are, we're going to send fire trucks and police officers and deputy sheriffs to you. But if we don't know where to send them, we can't send anybody. And a lot of people think that we can look up on a board. You see it on TV all the time. Oh, there's that cell phone right there. It's hitting at 1605 Washington Avenue. We can't do that. We don't have that. In fact, nobody has that technology except the telephone companies. What we can do is triangulate it, and in about 10 or 15 minutes, we'll figure out where you are. So we want you to tell us right away where you're at. All right? Yes, sir.
They will have your address on record.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll route you to where you need to go. But you're going to get whatever department is close to you. In fact, a lot of times you'll dial 911 and you'll get FHP. And then FHP will connect you to the jurisdiction you need to be in. A lot of times people ask too, what if I have an 848 area code and I dial 911? It's where you are. It's the tower that you're closest to is what's gonna connect to us from it. So what else? What else can I answer? Yes. Oh, there sure is. Another only program in the country that I'm aware of. We started a program last year. We got to do it at one school. This year, in fact, just last week, we successfully talked to every senior in Brevard County. The program's called College Bound Safety, and it's based upon this. Your kids live under your protective umbrella their entire lives. You tell them what time to be home. All right, you tell them who not to hang with, and everything else. And then we pack them up and we send them to college, or they go away in the military, or they move out on their own, or they get married or anything, and there's nobody there that's told them what they need to be on the lookout for. So we started a program. The school board was very instrumental in getting us to every high school in Brevard County, and we speak to all those seniors, and we tell them, you need to be on the lookout for this, 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 and this, so that they can help protect themselves. But it's a great program. and we deliver it to the seniors. We have a new program that we just started. Miss Lindsay, what's that new program called? Yeah, Child Safety Academy. It's brand new. We used to teach rad kids, but we decided to go in a different direction, a little bit more of our own program, and it goes out to the little kids all the way up to, I think, middle school age. And then we have a teenage academy too that we're putting on. Absolutely. It talks to them about awareness. It gives them some self-defense tactics, stuff like that they can use. So, what else? What else can I answer for you? Yes, sir. Are there currently drugs in the elementary and middle school level? I would love to tell you, I hope not, but I would be lying to you because I can tell you we're going to see it in the middle schools. Ideally, it's not in the elementary, but it's just hard to say. I mean, I can tell you that we haven't made an arrest or a case out of an elementary school. We do see it in the middle schools. It is one of those things that we are fighting, and we are fighting hard. And if you don't mind, I will share with you, probably some of you saw in the paper the last week that I am one of 63 sheriffs in the state that oppose the medical marijuana. I will tell you this. There are thank you. There are two types that's on the books right now, if you will, or on the focus. One of them is a drug that's an injectable. It's marijuana, THC. It's called Charlotte's Web. And it is used for children and adults with seizures and everything else, and they have had tremendous success with it. I would stand on the steps of the Capitol and tell our legislator and our governor to pass that. It's injectable. It's not the smoking kind. It has had tremendous effects, and it doesn't have the side effects and the acuteness to it that the medical or the smoking marijuana has. This is what I'm asking our citizens to do. I would never be so bold as to tell you how I think you should vote. All right. In fact, I get to be sheriff because of how you vote. You tell me how you're voting. All right. So this is what I'm asking. I'm asking everybody to go online and pull down the law that is coming up on the ballot in November. Look at it, read it, educate yourself on it. Once you do, I believe in my heart you'll vote against it. You won't go for it. It allows for things like a 12-year or 13-year-old to go get a prescription for medical marijuana without parents' permission. Without anybody being able to tell them that not to do it. It allows for a doctor to override the conditions that are listed. In fact, when you look at the law, it says, or any other condition warranted by a physician. And when you look at that, that basically means that I could go to them and say, I got bad headaches, all right? And they could give me a prescription for it if the doctor so warrants. So next we go to, well, would a doctor really do that? Go back to what I told you about the pill mills. All right. We had a doctor right here in Melbourne Beach a few years back that was issuing oxycodone prescriptions. In fact, he personally had issued more oxycodone prescriptions than all of the physicians in the state of California combined. One doctor in Melbourne Beach. He had so many people coming to his place that he had a hot dog vendor in the parking lot so that while they were standing in line, they could get something to eat. That's a problem. So you have to ask yourself, would doctors do that? What you will see is much like what you're seeing in the other states that have gone to it. You'll see a doctor shop and you'll see a dispensary open up right next door to each other. And that's where we're going to do it. So again, I'm not telling you how you should vote. I'm asking you to go familiarize yourself with that law and then vote what you believe is truly best for our society, for our state. That's what I would ask you to do. All right. What else can I answer for you? Yes, sir. You know, it's a good question. I think some of it it's a popularity thing. That's a lot of what people are wanting. You see them popping up and springing up. Some of it is because they find an area that they don't have a city ordinance or a county ordinance that is controlling it. But you see them popping up everywhere. They're within the limits of the law. They are operating as they're supposed to. I will tell you that our special investigative unit, we keep a close eye on them. Any complaints we get, any tips we get, we try and work them. We try and infiltrate and get in there to try and take them off. Is that an FSU shirt? Yeah. I didn't see that before I answered your question. How would I? Yes, ma'am. I'll come to you next. What would happen to a victim of like human trafficking when we break up? The first thing we do is we try and put them into a program that's going to help them deal with the grief and everything else that they've gone through, the horrific nature of it. I will tell you that from what I know of it, that is a long road. It is a road that is a cycle that, I mean, you got to figure some of these people have been incarcerated in that capacity for years. And so now you finally have got them out of it. And now you have to get them to understand that they're back in a safe environment. They're back where none of that's going to ever happen. I don't know that you can ever get somebody past what has happened to them in those regards. So it's a lot of counseling, a lot of trying to help them as much as we can. There are a lot of groups out there that offer counseling and offer information and resources. We're very blessed here in Brevard County. We have a group that's called Zonta. I don't know if you're familiar with Zonta or not. Most of you probably know the chocolate festival that they do, but Zonta is one of the leaders in Brevard County on the topic of human trafficking and women's rights of against crime. But it's a long road to heal. It definitely is. So Zonta, Z-O-N-T-A. Yes.
Now I have twofold because of your question. Is the same service of dealing with and coping with and recovering from offered to illegal immigrants?
You know, I would hope so, because anybody that's been put into that environment has gone through trauma and just gone through an unbelievable ordeal. So, you know, a victim is a victim. I mean, somebody that comes here from another country, no matter how they got here, if they're victimized in our country, we want to stop that victimization. We want to try and help, but I don't really have a number I could say that does happen or it doesn't happen. But anybody that's a victim, man, we got to do everything we can to help them recover. And I'll be very candid with you on all crimes. Until about 10 years ago, law enforcement didn't do a great job at victims advocacy. In fact, I'll use identity theft for an example. We actually would take your report and then tell you, okay, good luck, and never tell you how to mitigate it, how to get your life back in order from that. So we're doing a much better job. And when I say we, I mean law enforcement as a whole.
And then you said a lot of that was in the sex trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
Connected to that. I come from a bigger city where you saw the prostitution on the streets. I don't really see that here in Brevard County.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a big industry here?
It is, and there are certain areas that if you go to, you will see it more prominently. You'd be surprised. Sometimes you're driving right by it and you don't see it. For example, a lot of times you'll see truck drivers that stop at a certain exit. They're not stopping at the rest area that was one exit before them, or at the truck stop that's one exit after them. They pull off at this exit, and that's because they know that's an area that they will come to them and start doing it. In the truck stops, we see it a lot. There's a number of areas here in Brevard County that I could take you to where we know that prostitution is happening right there on the corner, and we work it. Our vice unit goes in and works it as much as we can. But you know, when you're looking at the prostitution side of it, it's a misdemeanor. So the minute we arrest the person that's doing it, they're getting right back out of jail. We try and arrest the customers, if you will, but they're going to get right back out of jail too. So it's difficult to control.
When you make that arrest of a prostitute, sorry guys, but does that then do you question them to find out if they are part of
Oh, sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're asking them, you know, if they're part of it, or are they out there on their own? Is there somebody who can do it? But again, one of the things that we face, one of the dilemmas, is they're either scared for a family member, or they're embarrassed to report it, and so they don't report it. They say, "No, I'm just out here trying to make some extra money." You know, and so it's a dilemma that we deal with. And you can talk to them and say, "We can protect you," but you know, imagine this: imagine that you've been thrust into that environment, and they know where your family lives. How do they know where your family lives? Because when they abducted you, they got your wallet and your purse and everything else with all your information in it. And so you're now faced with protecting your family and everything else from it. So, what else? What else?
Over in Lakeland, the Florida Baptist Children's Home is building a building called the Porch Light,
Mhm.
and it's just for girls from sex trafficking.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can start more of those around.
Yeah, and you know, it gives you when they're starting to build, you know, locations like that and understanding, gives you an idea of how much it's coming to light and how necessary it is. It definitely puts it in. But go research Zonta. They do a lot of work in that area trying to help as well. Yes.
I have a question. If we have a large senior population in our church, my wife was walking out of a shopping mall one day, and this big black dude was the only one there, started following her. So she stopped her and at first turned
We do.
Teach awareness for people.
Yep. Yeah. And if you guys would permit me, I'd love to come back and teach it to this group as well. It's called Self-Defense Through Mental Preparedness. We actually have two. Self-Defense Through Mental Preparedness is all about using your mind to never be in that scenario. It actually, the class came to light about 7 years ago when a man tried to abduct my wife in a parking lot up in Titusville. And I started looking at all the mistakes that she made. You know, we say mistakes. We should never be blamed for becoming a victim. But what I looked at is, could she have avoided being in that scenario? Was there things that she could have done? So we talked to you about the difference of being a soft target and being a hard target. We take it as far as to talk about your home, how your home can be a hard target as well. And so it's called Self-Defense Through Mental Preparedness. We love to come out and teach it. We have another one that's another level. It is called Self-Defense Through Tactical Shooting and Decision Making. We actually understand that a lot of people are going out now buying guns to protect themselves with. They buy the gun, they take it home, they put it in the closet, and they've never done anything to protect themselves with it. They bought it with the concept, but never put the concept into place. So we started a program. Again, I'm very proud to tell you it's the only one in the country. In fact, a sheriff from the state of Washington just called me last week and said, hey, can I buy your curriculum on your self-defense through tactical shooting? And he caught me by surprise. I'm like, buy my curriculum? I'll give it to you. You can have it, but you know, I don't know how I would sell it to you. But he had seen it online and decided he wanted to start doing it in his area. But what it is you come in, you go through an 8-hour day. The cost is $50. We'll do a whole group. We can only take, 32, Miss Lindsay? 32 people in the class. But you go through an 8-hour course. You shoot over 100 rounds through your gun. You go through the self-defense through mental preparedness. Our state attorney, Phil Archer, comes in and actually teaches you the legalities of stand your ground, castle doctrine, and self-defense. You shoot a simulator, which puts you in shoot, don't shoot scenarios. And as I tell everybody, this class is as much about when not to shoot as it is when to shoot. But those two courses really put you in a good light to learn to protect yourself. And we talk about intermediate weapons, tasers, and everything like that is in it. And again, you can find both of those on our website, and we'll be glad to come do it. All right. Anything else? Anything else before I close out? Yes, ma'am. We do. You can. Yep. Yep. We put them in the arrest gallery as well. Their mug shots are up there, everything. So how many of you look at the mug shots? How many of you actually go on? All right. Believe it or not, on online news, the mug shots are the most looked at thing on an online news paper. In fact, they just there was actually a piece of legislation that they just tried to pass. It failed. We fought it. It failed because they tried to stop us. If somebody was arrested, we wouldn't be able to put their picture up on the news or anything. To the point where if I arrested this gentleman who's wearing the FSU shirt, which there's a possibility, all right? Oh, sorry, Colonel. All right. If I arrested him and I suspected him in 10 other crimes or that he had other victims, I wouldn't be able to put his picture up until after he was convicted. So it really would have handcuffed us where we couldn't do some of the techniques and things that we do. It failed. The legislature did not pass it. But the most looked at thing on the news, online news versions, are the mugshots. That's what people go on to look at. So, all right. Anything else before I close out? All right. Let me stop right where I started at. Thank you for letting me serve as your sheriff. I am so proud of the agency that we have. I'm so proud of the men and women that work there, and I just think they do a tremendous job. So thank you for letting us be here tonight. We greatly appreciate it. Have a great evening.